Well, almost finally tonight, I wanted to speak about Mississippi. There isn't enough scorn in my body for Mississippi. They have stepped far and above the bounds of what I consider human decency. Whether we're talking about women's rights or whether we're talking about science versus creationism and on and on. Mississippi, I feel, and I am unapologetic in saying so, is an out and out blight to this country with how absolutely backwards and inhumane these folks are. But what's gotten my gall in the most recent of times right now? Mississippi is hell-bent on putting personhood back on the table. Less than 2 years ago, 58% of Mississippi voters rejected a personhood initiative that would define life as beginning at conception. Although actually some of the personhood amendments out there were trying to coin the terms sperm people and egg people, meaning that a female's eggs in and of themselves were people. And so every time you had a period and you flushed out the old eggs, you were committing murder. And likewise, every time I would be masturbating, I'd be committing mass abortion murder. No, I'm not kidding. But this one, I guess, was a little bit tamer and just simply saying, you conceive, we don't care what cellular stage this is at, it is a fully grown human being and needs equal protection and equal rights as a fully grown adult human. Therefore, if you have a miscarriage, we should have every right to investigate your body with as invasively as possible to make sure that the miscarriage happens naturally. And even then, we might be inclined to still throw you in jail for murder. Again, I wish I were joking. That hasn't stopped anti-abortion sponsors from filing paperwork for a brand new but nearly identical initiative on Tuesday. Why do they think it will work this time around? Because all those opposing voters were confused. Les Riley of Pentucket, who's with Personhood, Mississippi, said during a conference call to announce the initiative, yes, they have spoken. They spoke and they said they were confused. They didn't understand the last amendment. Completely understandable. I remember back in 2011 how I misread the initiative as the Parenthood bill, and I was super psyched about keeping everyone's favorite melodramatic TV show about a complicated yet lovable family on the air. You're telling me I voted against zygote rights? Put that shit back on the ballot immediately. This year's proposed legislation says the right to life begins at conception. All human beings at every stage of development are unique, created in God's image, and shall have equal rights as persons under the law. So yes, if you take the morning after pill before much of anything has actually formed, you're committing full-blown murder. Lovely thought, isn't it? Because if you take contraceptives, not because you're having profuse amounts of sexual activity or even any sex at all, but to regulate your body, as has some of my more religious ex-friends done in the past, then you're committing pre-murder of pre-life that's actually now life, because we care so much about the cellular stages in all their glory of a developing zygote and all of that. Look, I'm not a fan of late-term abortions unless it's absolutely medically necessary, and the Supreme Court seems to feel the same way. I don't really understand where your problem lies. and how you can honestly call something that's a parasite that has absolutely no consciousness, has absolutely no organs, brains, heart, lungs, bones, skin, any of that, that is a person that deserves equal protection under the law as if it were a fully grown adult human being. 2011's read, should the term person be defined to include every human being from the moment of fertilization, cloning, and the equivalent thereof? To be fair, any blogger worth her salt knows that the statements make for better headlines than questions. Opponents are having none of this. Quote, Mississippi voters have already spoken. Health care decisions should be left to a woman, which I agree. Her family, kind of agree, and her doctor and her faith, not politicians. I'm willing to let the faith thing go because, again, I mean, if it's only a choice for themselves and their body and it's based on faith, well then fine. I'm not going to try to take that away because I don't feel it's my place. Felicia Brown Williams, Director of Public Policy for Planned Parenthood Southeast, said in a news release, personhood legislation could ban most abortions, in vitro fertilization practices and contraception, as well as put doctors at legal risk. Do not want. Jennifer Mason, a spokeswoman for Personhood USA, thinks everyone should chillax. She said on a conference call that the proposal would ban some in vitro fertilization practices, but just so doctors would be prevented from, quote, putting just an insane amount of babies into a woman. So let me get this straight. You believe every baby has a right to be born, but if, say, a couple goes in and they want to have multiple babies, you're not having it. Where's the difference? Where's the line that you're drawing here? Because I'm just not seeing it. We thought all babies were special, unique gifts from the Holy Stork. See, and I didn't even read this article ahead of time, at least not to that part. The earliest likely date for a vote would be during the congressional election of November 2014. So get ready to hear a lot about positive attributes of innocent zygotes before then. In the meantime, Mississippi's sole commercial abortion clinic is still fighting to stay open, which disgusts the hell out of me. And I'll get more into a lot of why that is in my next video. But as to this just disgusts me. So wait, we want to define traditional marriage as being a marriage that is between a man and a woman for the sole purpose of procreation. But if the man can't conceive or he has issues getting his sperm out in a way that is conducive to fertilization, and the woman wants to then take some stock and have it implanted in her, then you just kind of want to be like, no, we're for babies and zygotes and cellular stages, but that's too dramatic for us. I mean, I know that's not part of the personhood thing, but it's part of the overarching discussion about traditionalism and arguments from traditionalism versus the reality of the world in which we live in. These are some of the same ideals that we put out there as to why, why we can't have gay marriage and gay parents and gay this and gay that. I mean, in a way, I guess I would rather be in a gay relationship if it meant that in many ways I wouldn't have to deal with the personhood people. Unless, of course, they go to the extreme of, again, trying to redefine my sperm as sperm persons and female eggs as egg people. Because what this is trying to move the goalposts. That's all this has ever been about. Oh, we can't win with logic going the legal route, going the sanity route, going the scientific route. So we're just going to move the goalpost and declare the moment egg meets sperm, That's a person. It's alive, it's conscious, it deserves a chance to show us what it can do in this world. We're going to force motherhood on people, some of whom wouldn't know what to do with motherhood if it smacked them right in the ass. Need I remind you all the horrendous, disgusting, despicable, downright horrific cases of child abuse that go on every year around the world, where people are born into people who have no business having children. And you want to say that those people need to have children. They need to be forced to have children. And that child needs to be forced to go through that kind of abuse. Because remember, CPS isn't at the door of the lady who decides that an oven is a perfectly good, usable tool for discipline, or the people who misread a religious disciplinary documents or book and decide to beat a child to death using holy discipline. They're at my door, okay? They're busy investigating me, finding nothing wrong in anything that I'm doing because, oh my God, he's a single parent. Let's get him. Because he's bucking the trend. He's bucking convention. There's no way he could ever be a good parent. Evers. It's not just with body autonomy, it's everything that goes into parenthood and childhood that I have problems with, and not just because of my own experiences. This is upon 11 years worth of self-reflection and reflection on the situations I've found myself in and that my friends have found themselves in, as well as the horrendous stories that I read about the child abuse that goes unnoticed. While again, I have CPS at my door, or the door of my girlfriend, or the doors of some of my friends who are, in many cases, even better parents than me. Hey, I'm not opposed to calling a spade a spade. I can't believe that this is 2013 and this is what we're having to deal with. I can't believe that people just have an inability to see past their gut emotions or their faith in some cases, or their gut emotion that's guided sometimes by faith, or their human nature that everything is sacred, absolutely everything, and that I should be ashamed every time I masturbate because I'm killing thousands of potential Einsteins and thousands of potential future people. And that's not even getting into the plight of the women, which is the reason that I care the most about all of this. I have a mom who's lived through the worst of abortion prohibition, and I will not stand for or stand by while that gets reinstituted because some people have a problem with the fact that some people are not made to be parents and should have every right to make sure that they aren't forced into a parenthood that not only do they not want, but they are not capable of handling mentally, physically, emotionally, what have you.